All right, so you're thinking about studying abroad.
Which is so cool.
Yeah, it's a huge step.
It is.
But I bet you're a little confused by all the different grading systems.
Yeah, especially the whole CGPA versus GPA thing.
Totally. And that's exactly what we're diving into today.
We're going to make it crystal clear.
Yeah, we've got a ton of resources for you guys.
We're talking guides on how these systems work.
Tips for improving your scores.
Even stories about students who got past CGPA hurdles.
Because it's not just about the numbers themselves.
It's how those numbers get interpreted internationally.
Right.
And we'll mainly be focusing on two systems.
The CGPA, which is super common in India.
And a bunch of other countries, too.
Usually on a 10-point scale, right?
Right, but sometimes it's a 4-point scale.
Interesting.
And then there's the GPA.
That's the standard in the US, Canada, Australia.
And that's typically on a 4.0 scale.
Okay, so what's our mission for today's deep dive?
For you to walk away knowing exactly how your grades will be seen by universities abroad.
And to give you some actionable steps to take.
Yeah, so you can boost your chances of getting in.
Love it. So let's break it down.
Let's start with the basics.
Okay. For our listeners who might be more familiar with GPA.
What exactly is this CGPA thing?
Yeah.
So CGPA stands for Cumulative Grade Point Average.
Okay.
And it's like a big picture view of your grades.
From your whole academic career.
Yeah, it's the average of all your semester grades.
Throughout like high school and college.
Exactly. And as we mentioned, it's used a lot in India and other countries.
And it's on that 10-point scale usually.
Right. But sometimes you'll see a 4-point CGPA scale.
Which could be kind of confusing.
Yeah, because it might look like the GPA system, but the calculations can be different.
Oh, got it. So how do they actually calculate the CGPA?
It's pretty straightforward, actually.
Oh.
You take all the grade points you've earned in all your subjects, add them all up,
Okay.
and then you divide that by the total number of subjects.
Okay, so let's say you got 72 grade points across 8 subjects.
Your CGPA would be 9.0.
Because 72 divided by 8 is 9.
Uh-huh.
So it really is cumulative, like it takes everything into account.
It does.
Okay, so that's CGPA.
Now let's switch gears to GPA.
All right, so how is GPA different from CGPA?
Well, GPA focuses on a shorter period of time.
Like a semester or an academic year?
Yeah, not your whole academic life.
So it's more like a snapshot of your performance.
Exactly, and it's the preferred system in the US, Canada, Australia.
And it's usually on that 4.0 scale.
Right.
Okay, so how do they calculate GPA?
So each letter grade you get
Like ABC?
has a specific point value.
Okay.
An A is usually 4.0 points.
Yeah.
A B is 3.0.
And so on.
Exactly.
And then you average those points to get your GPA.
For that semester or year.
Okay, so CGPA looks at the big picture.
And GPA zooms in on specific periods.
Got it. Now, here's the big question for our listeners who want to study abroad.
How do these two systems talk to each other?
Yeah, like how do you translate a CGPA into a GPA?
That's crucial because universities need to compare applicants from different systems.
Right, because you might have a CGPA, but the university uses GPA.
Exactly, and there's a standard formula that's often used for conversion.
Okay, tell us about it.
So you take your CGPA, divide it by 10, and then multiply by 4.
Okay, so if you have a CGPA of
8.5.
your estimated GPA would be 3.4.
8.5 divided by 10 times 4.
That's right. It gives you a ballpark figure.
But is it always that straightforward?
It can be tricky.
Okay.
Because some top universities like Harvard, MIT, Stanford.
Wow, yeah, those are big names.
They might have their own ways of converting grades.
Really?
Yeah, they might look at specific subjects more closely or the trend of your grades over time.
So it's not just plugging it into a formula.
Not always.
So what's the takeaway here?
Always check the specific requirements of each university you're applying to.
Don't just assume the standard conversion will work.
Right, because you don't want any surprises.
Okay, so now we know what CGPA and GPA are.
And how to get a rough conversion.
But why are these numbers so important for studying abroad?
Well, they affect a lot of things.
Like what? First, university acceptance.
Okay.
Top universities have minimum GPA requirements.
Makes sense.
For example, in the US, you might need a GPA of 3.0 to 3.5 for most universities.
And for those Ivy League schools,
You're looking at 3.7 or higher.
which is like a 9.0 CGPA or more.
Exactly. Your CGPA or GPA is often the first thing they look at.
It's like a screening tool.
It shows them you can handle the academic rigor.
What about other countries, though?
The requirements vary quite a bit.
Okay, give us some examples.
In Canada, for a bachelor's degree, you usually need at least a 2.5 GPA.
Which translates to about a 6.0 CGPA.
Right, but for a master's, you're looking at more like a 3.0 GPA or a 7.5 CGPA.
Okay, and what about the UK?
They often use a 2.2-degree classification, which is like a good level of achievement.
And that's roughly equivalent to a 7.0 CGPA or a 3.2 GPA.
Right. But of course, places like Oxford and Cambridge have much higher expectations.
Yeah, those are super competitive.
And in Australia, for the top universities, you'll need a GPA between 2.5 and 3.0.
Or a CGPA of 6.0 to 7.5.
And even in Germany, many public universities want a CGPA of 7.5 or higher.
So no matter where you go, your CGPA or GPA matters.
It's a key indicator for universities.
Okay, so it's not just about getting accepted.
Right. Your CGPA or GPA can also affect scholarships.
Oh yeah, because they want to support students who do well academically.
Exactly. Many scholarships have minimum GPA or CGPA requirements.
So good grades can really pay off.
They can, and surprisingly, your CGPA or GPA can even influence visa approvals.
Really?
Yeah, in some countries, they consider your academic record when deciding on student visas.
Interesting.
So a strong CGPA or GPA can definitely strengthen your application.
It shows you're serious about your studies?
And that you're likely to succeed.
Okay, so for anyone listening who might be thinking, my CGPA isn't that great.
Don't worry, there are things you can do to improve.
Like what?
One strategy is to focus on high-impact subjects.
What do you mean by that?
Courses with more credit hours have a bigger impact on your GPA.
So if you ace those classes,
It'll boost your GPA more. And depending on your university, you might be able to retake courses where you got a low grade.
so you can replace that bad grade with a better one.
Exactly. It's worth checking if that's an option.
Yeah, it could really make a difference.
And don't forget about extra credit opportunities.
Some universities really value that.
It shows you're going above and beyond.
And of course, talk to your professors.
They can give you personalized advice and feedback.
They're a gold mine of information.
And finally, make sure you're managing your time well.
Good study habits lead to good grades.
Consistent effort planning ahead, avoiding procrastination.
Those are key.
Now, our sources for 2025 also have some specific tips for academic improvement.
Okay, let's hear them.
All right, so first, set clear goals for each semester.
Don't just say, I want to do better.
Be specific, like, I want to get a 3.8 GPA this semester.
It's like having a target to aim for.
Exactly, and then use a planner to stay organized.
This is so important.
It could be a physical planner or a digital one, like Notion, Google Calendar, Todoist.
Whatever works for you.
The key is to schedule everything: assignments, deadlines, exams.
So you don't miss anything.
And use effective time management techniques.
Like the Pomodoro technique.
Yes, 25 minutes of focused study, followed by a short break.
It helps you stay fresh.
Or the 20/20 rule to avoid eye strain.
Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds.
It's a good reminder to take breaks.
Okay, what else?
Actively participate in lectures.
Don't just sit there passively.
Take notes, ask questions, engage in discussions.
It'll help you learn and remember the material better.
And experiment with different note-taking methods.
Find what works best for you.
Like the Cornell note-taking system Mind Maps bullet journals.
There's so many options.
And study smarter, not harder.
What does that mean?
Focus on active recall spaced repetition practice tests.
It's about understanding the concepts, not just memorizing facts.
Exactly, and use online resources to your advantage.
Like Khan Academy, Coursera, Udemy, YouTube.
They have tons of helpful videos and explanations.
It's like having a free tutor.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
If you're struggling with something, talk to a tutor, a professor, or your classmates.
It's better to get help early on than to fall behind.
Okay, any more tips?
Yes, create a balanced study routine.
No more all-nighters.
Spread out your studying throughout the week.
And make time for other things too.
Like exercise hobbies, spending time with friends.
You need a break from studying.
It'll help you avoid burnout.
And speaking of burnout,
Take care of your physical health.
eat well, exercise regularly, get enough sleep.
It all affects your ability to focus and learn.
Makes sense.
And work on your writing skills.
Essays, reports, research papers.
They all require good writing.
Use tools like Grammarly and the Hemingway editor.
And check out resources like the Purdue OWL for writing guidance.
It's worth the effort to improve your writing.
And finally, reflect on your progress at the end of each semester.
See what worked, what didn't.
And adjust your strategies for the next semester.
It's all about continuous improvement.
Now let's talk about the challenges of studying abroad.
Because it's not always easy.
Right, you might face some hurdles.
Like what?
Well, some universities abroad have really strict grading systems.
So you might need to work even harder to get good grades.
It's important to understand the grading system before you go.
And to aim for a strong academic record from the start.
And be prepared for cultural and academic adjustments.
Like different teaching styles or expectations.
Yeah, it can take time to get used to a new environment.
What are some common mistakes international students make?
Well, some underestimate the workload,
They think it'll be the same as back home.
but it can be much more demanding
And some are hesitant to participate in class or ask for help.
because of cultural differences or language barriers.
That's understandable.
But it's crucial to engage and seek support.
But otherwise, you might fall behind.
And speaking of language barriers,
That can be a big challenge.
especially if the language of instruction isn't your native language,
It can make it hard to understand the coursework.
and to communicate effectively.
So what's the solution?
Take those language proficiency tests seriously
And practice your language skills as much as possible.
and be prepared for time management issues.
It's tough to juggle everything when you're in a new country.
You have to balance your studies with work social life and just adjusting to a new culture.
It can be overwhelming.
Use planners to stay organized and don't be afraid to seek help if you need it.
And don't forget about homesickness.
Being away from family and friends can be really tough.
It can affect your mental health and your studies.
Stay connected with loved ones
Join clubs and activities to meet new people.
and reach out to the university's counseling services if you need support.
Taking care of your mental health is so important.
And one last challenge is choosing the right courses.
Yeah, if you pick courses that are too difficult or are not relevant to your goals
It can hurt your grades.
and make you question your choices.
Talk to academic advisors to make sure you're on the right track.
Okay, so there are definitely challenges, but there's also hope.
Absolutely. We have some expert insights and inspiring case studies.
Okay, let's hear them.
Dr. John Richardson, an international admissions director at Global University, says that while your CGPA or GPA is important,
It's not the only thing universities look at.
right, they take a holistic view.
So they consider your research experience, extracurricular activities, and your statement of purpose.
They want to see the whole picture.
That's good to know.
And Sarah Patel, an education consultant and study abroad advisor, agrees.
She says students with lower GPAs can still get into great universities.
By highlighting their unique strengths,
Like what?
strong recommendations from professors,
Relevant work experience.
and a compelling personal statement.
So it's about showcasing who you are beyond the numbers.
Exactly. And LetzStudy has some great case studies that prove this point.
Okay, I love a good success story.
So first we have Ananya. She had a CGPA of 6.5, which is a bit low.
But she really wanted to study business analytics in the UK,
LetzStudy helped her find universities that look at more than just CGPA.
and they helped her craft a strong SOP that highlighted her work experience.
And guess what? She got into Brunel University, London.
Wow, that's amazing.
It shows that a lower CGPA doesn't have to hold you back.
If you have other things to offer.
Exactly. Now let's talk about Rohan.
Okay.
He wanted to do an MS in computer science in the US.
But he was confused about converting his 7.8 CGPA to the US system.
LetzStudy helped him with the conversion and with writing his SOP.
They also helped him find universities that valued his specific skills.
And now he's at Arizona State University.
That's fantastic.
It shows the importance of getting expert guidance.
Especially when it comes to conversions and finding the right universities.
Right. And finally, there's Priya.
What's her story?
She had a 6.2 GPA and wanted to study biotechnology in Canada.
Which can be quite competitive.
LetzStudy helped her improve her GRE score.
That's the graduate record examinations.
They also helped her refine her SOP and target universities that prioritize research.
And she got into York University with a partial grant. No way, that's incredible.
It shows that even with a lower GPA, you can still achieve your dreams.
If you focus on your strengths and work hard,
These stories are so inspiring.
they prove that it's not all about the numbers.
Universities are looking for well-rounded individuals with passion and potential.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the key takeaway?
Understanding CGPA and GPA is crucial for studying abroad.
But don't obsess over them.
Universities consider many other factors, too.
And even if your CGPA or GPA isn't perfect,
Don't give up
there are ways to overcome those challenges.
and achieve your study abroad goals.
So here's a final thought for you.
Think about what makes you unique,
What experiences, skills, and perspectives do you bring?
that go beyond your grades,
Because those are the things that'll make you stand out.
and help you succeed in your international studies journey.
All right, that's it for this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
And best of luck with your study abroad plans.
We'll see you next time.